Hello, Michigan! Are you guys awesome or what? Wow. You know, I'm from North Dakota. We're used to the cold, but you're making me very proud right now that you're all still here. So give yourselves a hand. Way to go, Michigan. It's so great to be with you here in Traverse City, and it's so great to be here in the state that is going to put Donald J. Trump back in the White House. Just to kick things off here, I got to ask you a question, and I need you to answer as loud as you can. This will help warm you up. It's a multiple choice question. Very simple. There's two answers. One is Harris, and the other is Trump. So here we go. Who's going to put, well, let me ask it a different way. Who is going to win Michigan? Again, who's going to win Michigan? Okay, we got one more time. This time we're going to be so loud that they're going to hear us over those sounds of joy at the Kamala headquarters. Who's going to win Michigan? Yes, yes, yes. When President Trump wins Michigan, it's going to be because of you. It's going to be because of you. Your vote matters. Your presence here all day matters. Everything you're doing matters. And the future of our country and the fate of democracy is going to run through this state, and it's going to run through Grand Traverse County. Right here is where it's going to happen. And you know that if you deliver Michigan, it's going to be peace around the world, and it's going to be prosperity for you and your families. You know that. And I think you also know in the state of Michigan all too well what the cost of Kamala will be if we do not put DJT back in the White House. Because Kamala's war on energy is hurting every single American. It's definitely hurting Michigan, absolutely. Because all of you know that the cost of energy is in everything that you use or touch every day. Every farmer's got to put diesel in their tank. Every truck has got to put diesel or gas. Every business has got to, small business or large, got to pay for electricity. And her California-style regulatory regime has raised the price of gas in your car, the food on your table, the clothes on your back, your skyrocketing utility bills, and it's even raised your rent. She's literally killing the American dream and the dream of home ownership with their regime energy policies. So let's just take a look at one part of that for Michigan, which is her EV mandates, which she loves so much. Yes, she supports costly federal mandates, the kind of mandates that tell companies what they can do and can't do, what they can build and what they can sell, stripping away the freedom of the private sector, which has been part of the engine of America since our beginning. And with that, she's killing jobs, and she's killing the auto industry right here in the state of Michigan. And you know where, when she has these EV mandates, you know where the batteries are going to come from? I knew you knew the answer. That's why you're here. They're coming from China because they control 85% of the rare earth minerals, because they're blocking the ability to develop and mine rare earth minerals here in the United States. So Kamala's energy policies, they hurt Americans, they hurt American jobs, they hurt American workers. But you know who they help? They help Russia, they help Iran, and they help China. It's almost like her policies were written by those countries. And Kamala's policies are literally making Russia and Iran filthy rich. And you know what Russia and Iran is doing with all that dirty oil money they're making after they killed the U.S. energy industry in states like North Dakota? They're using that money to fund terrorism and fund wars against our allies. Kamala says she wants to be the change candidate. But I think we know something, everybody that's here tonight. She isn't the change candidate. She won't be the change candidate. And she can't be the change candidate because her fingerprints are all over every mess that's been made by her administration. She owns this mess. Let's just look at her record very quickly. Number one, we'll just take the top 5. Who's been the open border czar? Okay. Who was the sponsor of the Green New Deal? Who cast the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Creation Act? And who said she was the last person in the room when they decided to pull the deadly and damaging withdrawal from Afghanistan? And who is the central figure in our government who claims to have spent the most time with Joe Biden, who up until a few months ago and even as recently as this week has been part of the cover-up of his cognitive decline, and she still today continues to lie about his condition? Who did that? Okay, well, that's her record. And she wants to turn the page, is what she said. And this is, I think, the only thing that we could all agree with her on, because it's time to turn the page on the last 4 years that she's built, and it's time for a new chapter in American history where we put Donald Trump back in the White House. And yes, I've got very good news for Michigan, very good news for all of you that are here still tonight, because we all know someone who can, someone who will, and someone who has got the ability to fix all of Kamala's messes, and that is none other than Donald J. Trump. President Trump is going to come back. He's going to do what he did before. He's going to make America great again by fighting for you, fighting for your family, fighting for your communities, fighting for safe America, fighting for a secure border. He will be fighting for America from the minute he takes office. He'll lower taxes, slash red tape, secure the border, respect the Constitution. He'll bring peace through strength around the world. And we all know that this is true, just like we know that everything we said about Kamala was true about the messes that she made. But we know this is true about Donald Trump because he's a proven leader, and he's done it before, and he will do it again when he's back in the White House. And of course, one of the things that President Trump, when he gets here, I know he'll talk about it, but he's going to unleash American energy dominance. He's going to do this like it's never happened before. And he knows that American greatness has always been dependent on innovation. It's been the source of our success and our strength as a country since the very beginning. President Trump is a business person. He's been on the other side of choking red tape. He knows that it's innovation, not regulation, that drives our country forward. And with that, that's why he supports our entrepreneurs, our innovators. He supports homemakers. He supports farm workers. He supports farmers and ranchers. He supports auto workers. If you work for a living and if you get a paycheck, Donald Trump is on your side. President Trump will drive down the cost of inflation. He's going to make America affordable again. And you know, I'm going to close tonight with a short quote and a challenge for all of you. Over a century ago, President Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Far and away the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." That's an incredible quote, because if you're here tonight and all those people, I know that some had to leave because of family and kids, but people that were here for 12 hours, I just want to thank you on behalf of President Trump for being here. Thank you for being here. You're here because you care. You care about your kids. You care about your grandkids. You care about your communities. That's why you're here. And with that caring and that depth of caring that keeps you here tonight, you have caught the great prize. Because the great prize is defending America, and you're part of that defense. And certainly there's another part of that quote that says to work hard. And I can tell you from personal experience and working alongside of President Trump, there is no other presidential candidate, and there has been no other president that works as hard as President Trump. In the face of 2 assassination attempts, all the lawfare, everything that he could be doing with his life, and I know that he feels bad that he's late tonight, but when you see him tonight, I have been with him at 2 in the morning when he is still working. He's going to come in here the most energized guy in the room, and he probably started at 5 a.m. in New York before he went to Texas, and he's pumped up about coming to Michigan tonight. So he's working hard at work worth doing, and there's some things that we can make sure that we're doing to support him. And the number one thing, of course, is to vote. It's not only vote yourself, it's make sure everybody in your family votes, make your friends vote, make anybody you know get out and vote. No excuses, make a plan and go vote. If you put up a yard sign, which I know none of you have, and I know when I grew up in a town of 300 people, I live in a rural area, I understand how this works. I see some of the strongest support in areas and counties like this around the country. But if you put up one yard sign, put up another one, go offer to help, make some phone calls, knock on some doors. Polls don't win elections. We're hearing some very good news about momentum, but polls don't win elections. If they did, Hillary Clinton would be president. But polls don't win, votes do, and votes is what you can help on. So thank you for all of that. So my challenge to all of you is to do this. Think about President Trump and everything he's gone through, and then say to yourself, if he's working that hard, can I make one more phone call, put up one more yard sign? Of course you can, because we just have to try to keep up with him. He's doing all of this for all of us. The fate of the free world and the future of America can be decided right here in this county, in Grand Traverse. It can be decided in this state of Michigan. And so again, I want to close like I opened with gratitude, because on behalf of President Trump, thank you for doing your part. The work that you're doing, he's fighting for you, but when you're fighting for him, you are making America great again. Let's all work together, Michigan. Let's get it done. Let's make America great again. Let's put Donald Trump back in the White House. USA, 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 USA. We've got a special treat coming up. Tudor Dixon, she spoke to you earlier. She's going to come back up on stage. I've been on her podcast before, but she's going to come up and we're going to do a little podcasting here. She's going to ask me a few more questions, and we're happy to hear her. So help me welcome Tudor Dixon back on stage. Freedom ring. Let the white dust sing. Let the whole world know that today is the day of reckoning. Let the weak be strong. Let the right be wrong. So I put a coat on because it's getting a little bit cold, but I noticed that you guys don't look cold at all. These guys are warmed up. They're ready to go. They're pumped up. They are. So I just want to say, can we all give a big round of applause to the governor? Thank you. So Can I just say, I got to know Tudor when she was running for governor a couple years ago. I've also had a chance to get to know your current governor, and I just want to say I'm really happy to be on stage with Tudor Dixon. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to do kind of like the Tudor Dixon podcast live. Are you guys cool with that? Awesome. And I will say that when you are in the world of politics, it is rare to find someone who wants to help elevate you, because it's kind of like I don't know, you kind of get elbows a lot, right? It's tough. But when I was running, I was in Montana, and we were at a group where we were talking to all of these different people,
and Governor Burgum was there, and I was just kind of sitting there, and I wasn't meant to speak to anyone, and he stepped forward and he said, "You come up and talk," which I thought was so nice, so gracious. That's who we're with tonight, and I'm so, so happy you are in the state of Michigan. Thank you.
It's great to be here. I'm here with the amazing First Lady from North Dakota, Catherine, and this is our third trip that we've made to Michigan. Michigan is so important. Michigan matters big time, so happy to spend time here.
I know. I told them Michigan matters. You guys are the answer. This is the state that wins the race. I mean, we love them all, but we love Michigan. Michigan special. All right.
The other reason we like coming here is because we like coming south to campaign, to warm up down here.
So we want to jump into some of these questions because I think you guys are going to learn a lot tonight about energy and how energy has affected this country in ways you may not have imagined. The governor was recently on Fox and Friends, and he was talking about the fact that the energy policies of the Biden-Harris administration have actually funded terrorism. I think this is key here in Michigan because it has also divided our state in such a major way because we have people on both sides of this war in the Middle East that have lost family members. And it goes directly back to the policies that were made in the White House. And you can explain that to us, correct?
Well, I can, and it all starts with the Donald Trump, because first of all, we know that the way that you keep wars from happening is you have deterrence. And I just want to say that during the 4 years that I was governor under President Trump versus the 4 years under this current administration, President Trump himself is actually a deterrent. People literally are like, we're not going to try that when he's president. And Russia would have never invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump had been president. Hamas would have never did what they did a year ago on October 7th to Israel. So we wouldn't even be in this mess if he was in office. But the other thing that he did is he knew that what a bad actor Iran was. He knew how important it was to keep Iran from having a nuclear weapon. He put in sanctions that actually worked, and President Trump had Iran on their knees financially. They literally could not make payroll for Hezbollah. They support over 24 different terrorism groups, including the 7 that are now fully attacking Israel in the 7-front war they're at. They were on their knees financially. And don't listen to me. I just don't even have to listen to a pundit. The left-leaning magazine, The Economist, came out this week and confirmed what many of us knew, which is between ghost ships, fake front companies, and everything else, Iran has amassed over $200 million of oil revenue during the Biden-Harris administration that they're using to fund terrorism. They're literally funding we're in 2 proxy wars, one with Russia, one with Iran. Both of those wars are being funded on their side by the failed Biden-Harris energy policies.
Absolutely. And you know what I find very interesting? We had a Fox and Friends breakfast in Muskegon the other week, and we had some ladies there that were Harris Walls ladies. And I said, hey, let me just talk to you because I'm curious about the Democrat Party of today. Because the Democrat Party I grew up with was always very anti-war. Don't you guys think? That's what we had heard, right? But however, I see President Trump signing peace treaties, and I see the Democrats signing bombs. Isn't that shocking to you to see Governor Shapiro signing the bombs that will go over to Russia and take out families that the Democrats say they care so much about? They have become the party of big war. It is shocking to me. The warmongers who are touting the endorsement of Dick Cheney. I'm like, I don't think that's the win you think it is. It's like so bizarre. I do feel like we're in clown world when we watch them sometimes. And I just have to say, it's been a joy for us to see Kamala Harris doing these interviews where she's like, it's like she's glitching because she can't figure out what to say or how to respond. And I'm like, I know where the joy is now. The joy is us watching them. We've found the joy. We've got the joy. But I want to ask you more about energy because I know that you're a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt and a saying that he had, which was speak softly and carry a big stick, right? And you think that Donald Trump has a big stick to carry with energy dominance, correct?
Well, one of the things through innovation, America has become one of the largest energy producers in the world, and I'm sure none of you have heard this during the Harris administration, but they've had Janet Yellen. They had Kerry, they had Biden, they had Harris, they had many other cabinet leaders go to China. Every time they went, all they talked about was CO2. China imports 11 million barrels of oil a day. They're the most dependent country in the world on external energy sources. They're the world's largest polluter. If we're buying a battery from them, it's made in a plant that's powered by 1970s dirty coal technology, not like the technology we have in America today where we can do clean coal. We can do all of the above here. So why we're talking to them about that, why President Trump was so smart to say we can't be in climate accords that allow the second largest economy in the world, China, to keep growing their emissions till 2035 while we're trying to shut ours down. Because the other thing we don't have enough of in America is electricity. And we're in an AI arms race with China. China's opening up 2 coal plants a month. They will use that to power AI, which will affect everything and especially defense. And then in America, the same time they're saying, no, we're for U.S. energy right now. That's been the last couple weeks. No, we're for it. They're actually still, every agency is pushing against places like North Dakota. North Dakota, we're fighting the federal government on 30, not 29, not 31, 30 different rules and mandates that we're involved in pushing back and literally in some cases suing the federal government because they're trying to shut down U.S. baseload electricity. They're trying to shut down U.S. gas oil production. And if they're not trying to shut down the production, they're trying to stop a transmission line, a gas pipeline, or an oil pipeline to have the infrastructure. The last little tidbit I'll give you, at the time of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we were offloading 400,000 barrels of dirty Russian heating oil into New England because 41% of the people in New Hampshire still heat their homes with heating oil, one of the dirtiest fuels, because we can't get a pipeline built through the state of New York because they think they're saving the environment if they stop clean natural gas from Pennsylvania going into New England.
We know a little bit about people wanting to shut down a pipeline here, don't we? They want to shut down our pipeline as well.
Well, that's the new thing. I say pipeline, and then they say protest.
That's right.
It's like a new game that they play.
That's right. Okay, so energy. Let's talk a little bit more about that because you know what's really important to us here in Michigan is vehicles. And we're being told we have to have electric vehicles. So they want to change this Yeah. Yes, we do not like mandates. So how in the world could a grid that in Michigan, we've had 2 weeks in the middle of winter with whole towns out of power, how could we possibly support electric vehicles with the grid that we have right now?
You can't. We can't do that. And the whole idea that somehow we're going to subsidize the cars, the batteries, the 500,000 charging stations. I think there was a report recently that billions of dollars have been spent and they've built, less than 100 charging stations. I mean, the federal government can't do that. America, entrepreneurs and innovators, we built 300,000 plus gas stations in America in the 1920s, the 1930s without one dime of federal subsidies. The market created that. And then the market created the auto industry, which drove the economy of our country and drove the economy of Michigan. Markets, free markets, not the federal government with a one-size-fits-all will tell you what to do, because we also know that EVs don't work in cold weather. We also know they don't work for long-haul trucking. They don't work for heavy loads. We know that the cars are heavier and that with EVs and that ruins the roads. We know that you can't fly a plane from here to Japan or from here to London that's battery operated. You can't do that, even if you had the batteries that could do it, because when a plane takes off, when President Trump took off in Texas, whatever the load was in that plane, it'll weigh half as much when they get here because the fuel's gone. If you take off on a battery-operated plane, it weighs the same when you land. You break the landing gear. I mean, they think with a rule they can defy physics, they can defy economics, and they can defy common sense. And the EV mandates are like fail on all three of those. And the last kicker, I just have to say, thanks for listening. The whole premise was that was going to be better for the environment. And as I said,
Right.
you can't outsource your jobs and your power source to the world's biggest polluter and have the environment get better. If you cared about the environment, you would have every car, every product, everything built in the United States. We build everything cleaner, safer, and smarter than anywhere in the world. We're the ones that can save the environment.
I like the fact that you brought up that an airplane would be much heavier with an electric battery, because guess what? Vehicles are too. They're 30% heavier with an electric battery inside of them. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but nobody fixed the damn roads. It's a problem in this state. We should get a new governor. So I do want to get to a little bit about one of your neighbors, because you happen to be neighbors with a guy who you guys may have heard of. His name is Tim Walz. So we were fortunate enough to have the South Dakota governor here a few weeks ago, and she was talking about how he sent her a lot of people. So tell us your experience with Tim Walz.
Well, I just want to say it's been, I got my great neighbor, Christy Noem, in the other Dakota. And by the way, not that anybody here is paying attention, but for Christy, I just want to mention that South Dakota State was ranked number 1 in the country in their division of football, and we were ranked number 2 until we beat them last weekend. So, but that's okay. We'll see them again in the playoffs. But we have a great rivalry, but she's a fantastic neighbor. And, of course, in Iowa also benefits from this. But Tim Walz has been a gift. He's been a gift to North Dakota, South Dakota, and Iowa, because billions of dollars of businesses are leaving Minnesota, one of the high-tax, high-regulatory states. And so I just want to publicly thank Tim Walz for all the regulations, because they're just pouring over. We just opened up a new soybean crush plant in North Dakota. We had the ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago. It was just about exactly 2 years earlier that we'd had the groundbreaking. So we did everything. $450 million plant. We got the DOT. Wow. We got the Department of Environmental Quality. Everything at the state level. Everything done. Permits, boom. From beginning to end. They'd been receiving soybeans for 2 months when we cut the ribbon. So actually 22 months. And you know who was opening up that soybean processing plant in North Dakota? Minnesota soy growers. No. Thank you very much. Come on our side of the border. Bring it on over. We got more. We got a call, actually, right after that, and another soybean processing plant said, we've been trying to get going in Minnesota, 20 miles east of the border. They said, can we come over too? Because in 2 years, we couldn't even get our permits.
See, I give you credit. This is what good governors do. They take American businesses and they help them flourish in their state. Be nice to do that here, wouldn't it? And that's so important, because right now we can do that in the state of Michigan. We have got to get this state back on track, and we can do it. But I think something you mentioned was interesting. You talk about the high taxes in Minnesota, and that on a national level is very important, because if you take somebody into Washington who believes that the more you tax the people, the more benefit they can have in government, we don't want that. We don't want higher taxes. But let me tell you what Democrats want to do in the state of Michigan. Recently, one of the Democrats in our legislature decided that they should start taxing entertainment in Detroit. I mean, can Detroit kind of get a break? I mean, give me a break. But then one of the other ones, Mallory McMorrow, she was like, I think we could do it across the whole state. Sounds like somebody needs to be voted out of office. We don't want high taxes. Tell us how you do it with low taxes.
Well, I'm happy to say that in North Dakota we've cut taxes every legislative session I've been in office. We now 60% of North Dakotans no longer pay any income tax at all. And
we should do that.
yeah, no. So we're so our taxes are going down. Our regulations are going on. We focus. We have a red tape reduction effort. We've got a website. We solicit ideas from the public. We ask them to contribute their ideas. We passed 51 red tape reduction bills last legislative session.
How do you get the public to help you with this? Because that's how it should be. It's we the people, right?
Well, absolutely. But we just say we have a website. You go there. If you're frustrated with something, like a permit took too long, or you wanted to do something that was smart and had common sense, but somehow there was a regulation that you couldn't do it, we just said we want to hear about it. And we comb through all those ideas, and then we turn them into bills, and then we introduce them. We said, let's get rid of this stuff. Part of the way you get rid of the cost of government is you stop doing the mind-numbing, soul-sucking, non-common sense work that frustrates every citizen, and it also frustrates the team members at the state that don't want to be doing that stuff. So it makes it better for the state team members. We don't need as many state team members. They're happier. And then the public, we say in North Dakota, treat the taxpayers like customers. They're paying for everything. I'm a private sector guy. I got in there, I'm like crazy. They're the customer. They're the ones that are the citizens. They're paying for it. Let's treat them that way.
So you mentioned that you're a private sector guy. Your background is really computers and cybersecurity and things like that. A lot of people don't realize that we have companies that every day they have some sort of a ransom attack. They have all of their information taken. And there are people working behind the scenes on it to try to keep companies safe, but it's not well known right now. And we could be attacked at any time on a national level. So tell us a little bit about the national security implications of not being prepared for a cyber attack.
Well, I talked earlier about that we're in two proxy wars right now, one with Russia and one with Iran, and then we're in a Cold War with China. But we're in a cyber war every day, and those three actors, Iran, Russia, China, and then throw in North Korea. Those four have active people attacking the U.S. every single day, and they attack school districts, they attack tribes, they attack cities, they attack states. When I got into office, I never served a day in office until the same day President Trump got elected. And by the way, that was a fun night. We knew we were going to win. It was a close one. I think we won by 41 points or something, but back in 16. But it was. So we had that, but then we thought, Hillary was going to win. And then President Trump won that night, and what a celebration that was and how great it was working with him. But then when I got in, I found out, we didn't really have any cyber protection for all the stuff, and states have for your data. We have if you got a speeding ticket, if you bought a fishing license, if your kid goes to college, we got the grades. So this has been declassified, but shortly after I got into office, we had a small school district with about 200 people up by the Canadian border that called the state and said, hey, our power school system that has all the kids' grades and all the parents' emails is not working very well. We don't know what's wrong. Our guys went in there because we created a crack team of cyber specialists. They went in there. North Korea was in this little school district. And then you might say, why was North Korea in a school district near the Canadian border? Right in the middle of the largest nuclear missile field in America is in North Dakota. If we seceded from the nation, then we'd be the third largest nuclear power in the world. Just remember that, okay? We're not planning on doing that, but I'm just saying we have a lot of nuclear up there, and the ground defense for those nuclear missiles is the North Dakota National Guard on a permanent assignment, which makes a ton of sense. If you had an Air Force person rotating in, for 12 months and then they leave, they wouldn't know who's who. But we got people that have been doing this for 20 years. They know every pickup in town. They know who's coming through. The North Koreans were trying to go through the school system to get to the parents' email addresses, to get into the parents' computers, to try to get access to passwords or other information about America's nuclear defense.
Think about that. How many of you use Power School? Our school uses Power School. We know I see some hands going up. You see your kids' grades on there. You see what their missing assignments are. We as parents know you have missing assignments, kids, just so you know. Apparently North Korea also does. This we cannot take. We cannot take these chances. And that's why it's so important to get someone who's paying attention to that instead of having a woke military. We pay attention to actually taking care of the American people. So when President Trump gets into office, what you believe that he'll be on top of this? You'll be advising him on this, I suspect.
Well, he's President Trump. The President of the United States gets to appoint 4,000 people. So one of the reasons why it's important that you're here tonight is that I can tell you as a governor, a number of the people that are working for Kamala right now, this is like the fourth term of Obama. Some of them have been there through 2 terms of Obama. They hid. They were part of the swamp during the time that Trump was in. They're still around. They reemerged. This time around, President Trump, there's going to be 4,000 new people in those jobs. They're going to be patriots. They're going to be people that know how to get it done. They're going to be some of the smartest and best business leaders and strategists in the whole country. And this time around, Silicon Valley is waking up because they know that without electricity, they don't have an industry, and they're figuring out, and that's why you're seeing so many of those leaders, whether it's Elon Musk or others, those people from Silicon Valley or all the innovators are going, they woke up and found out they're Republicans.
You know, I think I was at an RGA meeting one time, and I had a gentleman come up to me, and he said, "This is my first time at a Republican event." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. What made you decide to do this?" He said, "I'm from California." And then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's like a unicorn. Why are you here? Welcome." You know, I'm so excited. And he said, "You know, to be honest, my son has worked harder." He said, "I started my own business in Silicon Valley." And he said, my son worked harder than I did when he was in high school so that he could get into an Ivy League university. He said, in the meantime, here I was starting a business, and my son was busting his tail so that he could get into this Ivy League university. He said, here's the kicker. We're Indian. So he wasn't chosen because we're Indian. And the schools had gone woke and said Asian kids don't get to come in anymore. They have to work even harder than the other kids. And he said, I had watched my son give up every party, every girlfriend, every sport. I had watched him just work as hard as he could to get into an Ivy League university. And the woke policies wouldn't let him in. And he said, and guess what? I decided maybe I'm a Republican. See, one of the things that I don't even like to call them Democrats because I don't remember Democrats like this. It's like this progressive woke side of the country that is radical and out of control. What they haven't figured out is that when you mess with someone's kids, they don't stick around. We're kind of like mama bears. You don't mess with our kids, right?
Well, I just got to say, I was had a great day. I apologize ahead of time to all the Wolverines here, but I was at Michigan State for the. I was there on campus, and I was having a blast until the game started. It was the weekend they were playing Ohio State because I was in the "Oh how I hate Ohio State" category, which both Michigan teams should like that. But anyway, walking on that campus and walking down Fraternity Row, and there was fraternity and sorority. There was 400 students on a Saturday afternoon screaming, Trump, 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 Trump. And I got to tell you, that was pretty fun to see because there was nothing woke happening in that crowd. They were ready to go, and I was there today back at Michigan State early voting. Met a group of about 20 young men that were there. They were all coming from their fraternity as a group to all go to early voting right when early voting opened up today on campus. And I got to tell you, pretty exciting to see that kind of support because that's an area for too long. The other party has they've controlled the thinking. But the question that I asked them when I was there a month ago, I said, when you graduate, would you rather graduate and enter into a world that has a Kamala economy or a Trump economy? And the answer was Trump, 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 because they see that that's where the real opportunity is, the opportunity with low inflation, low interest rates, someone who supports entrepreneurs and innovators. They all want to have the opportunity that I had, because when I was a kid, growing up in a town of 300 people in North Dakota, I was the youngest of the youngest. I thought there's no chance for me to farm, no chance for me. The older siblings have got all the opportunities. And so then, what happened? Along comes the personal computer software. I was going to a high school that didn't even have a computer, and then I spent my whole life, building a software company and growing in that industry. And these young people today want to have that kind of opportunity to chase the American dream, and President Trump's going to give it to them.
That's right. So I actually was asking people, we have a young guy here from Marquette who came down, and there he is. He came up to me and he said, you'd be surprised. A lot of the students, there he is. They're going for Trump. So we are so glad that you're here and you're willing to speak up. And honestly, that's what we've been talking about all night. The 10xvotes.com, all of these things. I mean, even if you're a young person, go on there, find out who you know that hasn't gone out and voted, that doesn't want to go out and vote, but they want to have a say in their country. And don't forget what the general said. People gave their lives for you to have the right to vote. It's so important. So when you're out there and you're talking to young people, this is a critical time for young people to understand what their forefathers and what the generations before them have given up so that they have this chance to vote. I'll say there was one more gentleman in the crowd who came up to me, and I looked at his shirt, and I was like, whoa, he has an Ohio State shirt on? And I said, you're like really brave. And he said, you know what? I think that Donald Trump can bring everyone together. I was like, okay, fair. We've accepted J.D. Vance, right? So I think you make a great point. It is so important for young people to go out and vote right now. And that's something that they have had the market on, but we've seen a massive shift in these young folks. What are you seeing in your state? And what have you seen? Because you've been everywhere. You've traveled around. I mean, Michigan State is one thing, but that's a big deal because it's right in the heart of Lansing. It's right where you've got Gretchen Whitmer. She's out there on the campus. They're pushing this. So it's a big deal. What are you seeing in the rest of the country?
Well, I think one of the things that I feel and why I'm optimistic is what I talked about earlier is all of you here that have over your life have worked hard for a living and put savings away, because one of the things that I see, whether it's in people in Arizona that are concerned about the border, people in Nevada that are saying, hey, I love this idea of no tips, people here in Michigan like yourselves that understand the disastrous effect of the EV mandates. When I'm in Pennsylvania and I see the energy workers, Pennsylvania, people think Texas energy. Pennsylvania is producing 20% of the United States' natural gas right now, and they could be doing a lot more if they weren't being held back by this administration. So everywhere I go, what I see is I see people that worked hard their whole life, saved for their retirement. I see people that are working today that care about their families and communities, and I see college kids that want to have an opportunity to be able to go in and do something in their lifetime with their careers. And that's the coalition that's voting for Trump. I had a chance to be at that Wildwood rally, 100,000 people. And
what was that like?
It was amazing, of course. And part of it, I'm going on there and saying, this is New Jersey, as blue as blue can be. And we were 10 miles away. And of course, they had the New Jersey Highway Patrol and others. And I knew it was going to be a good day because in this blue state, as blue as it gets, there was highway patrolmen and firemen, fire trucks out in front of the fire stations with people with the flags flying, lined up as the motorcade went by. There was a highway patrolman for New Jersey that saluted as President Trump went by. Then we got there, and there were just crowds and crowds of people, and and then all the liberal mainstream media were like, well, who was all there? They're trying to play identity politics. I said, everybody there that I saw was someone who either worked their whole life or is working. I mean, that's who was there. It's people that build stuff in America, that farm, that are making things happen.
That's Americans.
Yeah, it was. It was a bunch of Americans. And then I said, and then she goes, well, was there any people you didn't see there? And I said, I didn't see anybody there that was hoping to have their Ivy League student loan forgiven.
That's true. So when you see what's happening in Washington, D.C. today, and you've seen Kamala Harris asked all of these questions, do you have any insight for us as to who is actually running the country right now? Because she seems to not be able to answer if Joe Biden is mentally healthy, but it doesn't look good for us. And what do you think that looks like to our adversaries around the world?
Well, I think it's what we talked about earlier, Tudor, which is it's why Russia felt emboldened. It wasn't just that they had the money to do it. It wasn't just that Iran was flush with cash and could fund terrorism to achieve their objective in terms of their attacks on Israel and eventually on the United States. I mean, that's their stated purpose, not the Iranian people, but the Ayatollahs and the Iranian regime. They were emboldened by all that. They see the weakness. They see the lack of leadership. They see what we see, maybe even better, which is there is no one home. No one is leading the country. And not Kamala, not Joe Biden. So then you've just asked the most important question, and it's one of the reasons why people should vote for Donald Trump, because this party has been basically telling us that Joe Biden was going to be fine to be president for 4 more years when it was clear in an interview 2 days ago that he shouldn't probably be president from now until January 20th.
Right.
We just heard in the back,
yelled,
take his driver's license.
I think we need to take a little bit more than that. But the alternative is really no good either. So that's scary. I want to get to the border. You've talked about the border a few different times. Obviously, we know that the open border is a disaster. What we found out today is that we have a candidate running for Congress in the state of Michigan who was recorded saying that even though his advertisements have said that he wants to be tough on the border, that he believes an open border is the American way. And he believes that we owe a debt to those folks who have crossed the border. This guy's name is Curtis Hertel. Interesting political family. His wife was the Health and Human Services Director during COVID. Remember when we weren't allowed to go on vacation, but she went to Alabama? That sucked. So he's running against Tom Barrett. Vote for Tom Barrett, obviously. Everybody listening, vote for Tom Barrett out there if you hear us in his district. So when you hear things like that, and you see that Kamala can't answer the questions about the border, do you really believe that they could ever possibly take the border seriously? Because so many people in their party have made it clear they want it to be wide open.
Yeah, and I would just say on this one, we all, if you watch the news, you hear the stories, but I'm, again, want to come not as a pundit, not as someone, I'm just coming to you as another regular citizen who's had the opportunity to serve as a governor. And one of the greatest honors of serving as a governor is that you're the commander-in-chief of your National Guard. And during the Biden-Harris administration, almost continuously, we've had troops sent to the southern border. Of course, we're a border state like Michigan on the northern border. We got 325 miles of border. We had 18 border crossings, so we have our own issues up there. But we've been sending troops to the southern border. And when I go down there to visit the troops, it's not about a photo op. And then it's bizarre. She's the border czar. I've been down there more times than she has. I've been down there more times than her and Joe combined.
Well, she hasn't been to Europe either.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting. But when I can tell you, in our troops, when we were down there, they were guys flying Lakota helicopters, stopping transnational criminal organizations, all the way from the Gulf to the Pacific. We had people that were assigned to certain sectors in places. I was down there when the record amount of Chinese were coming across earlier this year.
What do you think that means? Because that's the first time we've seen that. You guys need to know, this is the first time we've seen mass immigration, illegal immigration from China.
And what we know now is that, of course, you can fly from China to Ecuador without a visa. And then from Ecuador, you can fly to Mexico. So they're flying into, Tijuana, Laredo, Mexicali. They're flying into places the next day. They fly to Ecuador. They've got cash. Then they buy the next plane ticket. And then they basically get an Uber, like a dozen of them, and get in in an SUV who drives them to the hole in the wall, and they walk through. So literally down there, we've got our guys.
So this is not a hideous journey that we were thinking.
No, this is not like you've been going for 9 months and hiking through the Darien Gap, which many, many people have. These are people that decided last week they're coming to the U.S., and then they're coming through I shouldn't laugh, but some of them are coming through with a roller bag and a neck pillow, through the wall, and then other ones were paying.
This is how open our border really is.
Right. And then there, in some others, you haven't seen this story, but you're there and you're watching on the screen, and we're looking out in the Pacific Ocean, and then they're like, well, what are these boats? Well, those are whale watch tours. Well, what's this fast one? Oh, those are jet skis. They're jet skiing from Mexico to north of the SEAL base by San Diego. And they say, yeah, they pay about $5,000. The Chinese guys pay $5,000, and they give them a ride on a jet ski and drop them off on a beach, up by L.A. But you probably haven't seen that story, but I've seen it with my own eyes that this is what's happening. So the thing is completely underreported at all times. The first time I went down there with our troops, they were there for 30 days. I went down to visit them. They had a 30-mile sector. And I said, how's it going? They said, well, we've apprehended 30,000 people. I said, 30,000 people in a 30-mile sector. In 30 days, they said, we're doing about 1,000 a day. And I'm like, where's the Border Patrol? Well, the Border Patrol was all back doing processing, but they weren't doing computer processing. They were doing paper processing because the Biden administration said we don't want to have any pictures of big, refugee camps on our side of the border. So then quickly, let's pay the NGOs to get those people into the U.S. So their job was to get people through. So then you go talk to the Border Patrol and say, you guys are multi-generational, dedicated people that care about law enforcement, the grandfather, the father. I mean, these people that live in these border towns that are there, that grew up there, the federal job was a great job, federal law enforcement, and they were proud. They're telling their kids the same way that someone in Detroit or Minneapolis or San Francisco in law enforcement is telling their kids, don't go into law enforcement. You're not respected. They want to defund us. So that the culture of the Border Patrol now has been destroyed by this administration, a proud law enforcement organization. They say, you tell us how to close the border and we'll close it. You give us the support. You give us President Trump. You give us the leadership. And the biggest lie that is being told this whole campaign by Kamala is that somehow the Republican in Congress didn't pass this bill that she wanted because then they were going to hire another couple thousand Border Patrol. I asked the question. I'm a business guy. I went straight all the way to the top of Homeland Security, and I said, hey, every time I've been down there, everybody's taking early retirement, everybody's leaving. How many positions do we have available right now that you don't need a bill for? The answer is thousands. They could hire thousands of Border Patrol today just to fill the spots of all the people that have left. There is no need for this new bill that they're talking about. They could be doing more right now, but you can't if you don't have the leadership. President Trump represents leadership that law enforcement respects, the Border Patrol respects, and if we don't have that, all the rules in the world are not going to close the border. He's the one that can get it done.
Yes, because if we don't have someone who respects the people who work there, then they don't want to work there. And that's the beauty of Donald Trump. He doesn't want to lead you. He doesn't want to control you. He wants to serve you. And we are so blessed that he will be here soon to come and talk to you about how he wants to serve you. But please, everybody, give a big round of applause for Governor Burgum and thank him for coming here.
And thank you, Tudor. And we got a special surprise here. We got people, we know they want hats. You've been waiting a long time.
We have hats.
There he is. The congressman's he's got a good arm. He's throwing them out right now. There he is.
You have to